So this is my modded Korg Monotron. It's still in the works. I got a bunch of stuff over here. I have posted a schematic online and there's been a few people asking about it, so I just want to kind of show the waveforms to kind of explain what's going on. What I have is this weird kind of type of comparator. Basically, what I was doing was I was trying to create an inverting amplifier to try to ramp up the saw wave so that it could trigger a 4040. Later on, Phobos from electro-music.com pointed me to a comparator schematic, and that's when I realized that whatever I had come up with down here was very similar to the comparator. So now I'm using the comparator separately to run the 4040, and I kept this circuit down here because I found it does a few cool things. I really don't know what to label some of them. This one here right now says pulse width, but it's actually a low pass filter. A high pass filter. This one up here says phase shift, but I don't even know if that's the proper thing to call it because it kind of acts like phase shift sometimes and pulse width other times. I'll show you what I mean by that. So let me just call up the waveform here. So what's going on is right now it's just the regular saw wave, and the square wave is in there, but it's just phased out because one of the pots are turned down. So I'm gonna turn one of the pots, the one that's labeled as sorry, let me just see what I got it labeled as. The one that's labeled as phase shift, and you'll see that the square wave starts to peak out. There it is. And that's the high pass filter that's making it very narrow like that. And as I play with this pot, I can make it go right up to the peak of that saw. It kind of does all kinds of distortion once it gets up there. Or I can turn it and keep turning it, and it'll go right down to the peak of the next saw. And my oscilloscope will kind of freak out sometimes because it doesn't know where to trigger. And you see I can move it right down to merge it into the following saw wave. So now it's part of the following saw wave. So it creates some kind of weird waveforms. The other thing, so here I'm going to adjust the high pass filter now, the one that has the 50K pot. And you see the square wave is very loud. It's one thing, so I have a volume pot on it too to adjust it. So there's the square wave peeking its head out there. And again, it kind of cancels out the saw wave now. And what I'm doing now is adjusting, this is the high pass setting. Let me go back to that phase shift setting, and you see how it kind of, again, it's moving around and merging weirdly with the saw, giving little indents and stuff within the waveform. So it's really an odd type of wave shaper that does things that I didn't expect or plan on, but it does sound really cool and it's definitely unique. Right now these are all just going straight into the Monotron's auxiliary input and mixing with the saw wave within the Monotron itself. So maybe that has part of it, that has something to do with part of it, how it's mixed within the Monotron. I don't know, but that's something that is beyond me. Like I said, I don't even know what it is that I've created. I think it's some sort of a comparator. One other thing I'll show while I have this here, I'll just get rid of this square wave entirely, is the feedback loop. I pass it through a germanium diode, and the one direction, it just acts like a regular diode, kind of a high pass filter, one side of the waveform. But when I turn the germanium diode around, instead of adding just a regular sine wave, it adds a bit more of a kind of distorted, weird resonance kind of thing to it. You can see that there. That's with the feedback loop turned on. So again, there it's off. It boosts the volume a bit and just kind of adds some oddity to the sound. Especially at low frequency notes, you can really hear the difference. I just found it to be better than the regular feedback without the diode in place.